Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 208th episode of the Immigration Lawyers Podcast. I thought it was more than that, but I guess, there's loose ones here and there, which I don't remember. But I'm really happy to be here. I've been talking with a lot of listeners. People reach out that both read the magazine, the podcast, and it's been such a pleasurable experience getting to know everybody and knowing how much of a community it is. I was talking with a person today. We're talking about it really is a community through all the social media places, and now that we're all kind of stuck at home, we can't even go to conferences. It's a way to see people's names, connect with who they are professionally, and then we all contact me and we have a talk and on the private Facebook page, which if you're an immigration attorney, you should join. Just email me at info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com and I'll add you to the Facebook page. But we're just, doing this fun stuff together. And I really want to make more of a community out of it where we can talk. Problem is when you get a lot of people in a group at the same time, especially on the internet, you never know what's going to be said or done. But I think at least keeping it on a professional level like this, just talking about how case law is and how practice is, because I'm not going to talk about today, but if you're following on nerdy immigration groups, my commentary on the advanced parole and adjustment of status cases, it gets some people riled up and I have my opinions on it, but I don't feel like getting into it right now. But definitely check out that feed. I think it's really important that people be aware of the discussion. But so I've been super busy. Usually I've been doing a ton of podcasts out consistently, but between the caseload, the kids, and the magazine, which has to come by time now, which is still a good amount of work left. It's a lot. So I always talk about being a solo, and I just picked up a team member. We're going to see how it works out, and I think it's going to be very successful. And it's going to help alleviate some of the pressures of responsibility so that I could put out more content like this, because I don't think there's anything out there like this. Even ALA, for as great as it is, and everyone should be a member, I think there's a need for people to just talk about what we're going through, brothers in arms, about all the stresses and the experiences with just the law and basics. We know how complex and difficult this could be, and the agencies could be, and the courts could be, and the politics of it could be. So that's what it really is here. So I want to thank everyone who reaches out, connects. It helps me out. I started this podcast for many reasons, but one of them was just to get the stress and the thoughts out of my head of like, oh, this is kind of nuts, learning all these different things. And, you never know with what's going on, and things change, and you have a lot of pressure on you. You get clients and money and family, all this kind of stuff at once. No matter how big or small you are, these things don't really go away. So there's always this kind of stuff. So I like to have that here. Now the magazine, the third edition is going to be a special issue just on ONA. So if you're interested in getting that, or if you've been doing ONAs for 20 years, you're going to get something out of it. I was reading it, very good nuance points throughout the magazine. I think we have 15 articles. So it's a deep thing that's going to be there for new practitioners, because I get a lot of people who just learn about me and go back in back episodes from like 4 years ago and start listening from the beginning. And just if you get up to this point, you probably in the future, the points made here will still be relevant, either directly or indirectly, just because there's so much material, and there's a lot of strategy talk and all that kind of stuff. So it's really excellent. Even if you're not a business immigration, check it out. You might be interested in what's there, and you might add another niche to your practice. So kind of all the attorneys who contributed with their perspectives. I think we even have a former consular officer, wrote an article as well. So that's going real good. And then after that, November, and then we're planning 2022 in the magazine to make it real hardcore, a lot of issues, a lot of special editions, and at the same time boost and really start the CLE courses and the toolbox, subscription, along with the directory website. They're all up, but let's try to do one thing at a time, do it right, and move on to the next. So you'll be seeing that, especially because again, I have more team members that could help me. What was another thing I wanted to talk about? But that's that. I do want to thank the sponsors, in particular, DocuWise has always been so kind in sponsoring the program on both the Toolbox magazine and the podcast itself for so long. DocuWise, if you, the form software CRM, you know about them. If you go to their website and you want to get an annual plan, you can get additional, is it 5 or is it 10% off? I think it's 10% off their annual plan by going to DocuWise.com/immigration-lawyers-podcast. using the code Immigration Lawyers Podcast, or you call them up with it too. Sometimes it's a glitch. I try to go to that site, it doesn't work the link. It might just be me typing my own name wrong, Immigration Lawyers Podcast, misspelling, but sometimes it doesn't go through. I also want to thank the other sponsors in the upcoming magazine. One of them, I did a interview today. I'm going to release this recording afterwards, but I did an interview with the CEO, Enrique Serna. Let me make sure it's Serna, right? I call him Enrique, even though his name is Enrique. Yeah, Serna, Enrique Serna. He has a program called Immigration the Right Way, which helps potential clients be able to connect both English and Spanish and other languages to find a lawyer, be able to get financing and pay for it, so you don't have to have like an in-house billing team. And at the end of the day, be able to connect with them and find you and all that kind of stuff. So it's a great mission. Whatever we can do to get people, clients to lawyers is a good thing. So I really appreciate that. So we did a full Tony Long service, immigration law service provider edition of the podcast that you can check out. Some interesting stuff in there. It's always good to just hear different perspectives of what's going on in the community, because it's a part of it. So I really appreciate that. Now, one last thing I want to mention is that we're starting an EB5 course for direct investment, which is really big right now, with essentially a shutdown of regional centers, and not the shut of regional centers, but the accreditation, all that crazy stuff that's going on in Congress for not renewing the program. Direct investment's really big. So I want to let you know that we're setting up a course. One of my colleagues, fellow professor of immigration law at Pepperdine Law School, she was my successor. I was before her, and so a lot of respect at Belma, Demirovic, Chinchoy. She specialized in really EB5. That's been her bread and butter. And so from the very beginning, many years ago, I met her actually. There was a grand opening of a regional center hotel in downtown Los Angeles, and various immigration attorneys got invited. This is probably like 7, 8 years ago or something like that. And this is important. So just going to these things and networking. Honestly, even if COVID wasn't happening now, if I got these invitations, I wouldn't leave, because I don't feel like leaving and going places. But I'm glad I was younger at the time and more hungry for it. So I went there, and she and several other immigration attorneys were there. We hit it off, started talking, and her expertise already at that point, I think she had done 100 EB5s, and who knows how many she's done by now. So that's just a great source to have, who has teaching experience and knows the game. When it comes to direct EB5 investments, she's awarded tons of accolades from all the various, EB5 magazine and stuff, and been on panels. So she's excellent. She's creating the course so you could get to know direct investment EB5. Another niche you put in your toolbox. That's what we're here for, Immigration Lawyers Toolbox. It's the reason why we call it that, so you can be a better attorney, more successful, and help more people, and do it the right way. Just like Enrique Serna, CEO of Immigration the Right Way, you got to do immigration the right way on the practitioner end, to try to avoid these mistakes, or just the fear. When you're learning a new case area, you could be freaking out. You're like, well, I'm not sure what's going on. Am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? I know you guys call me and tell me all the time. And I know the nervousness you have, especially when you're a good practitioner, because when you're good at what you do and you care, you're going to be more nervous. That's natural. So why not have someone like hold your hand and teach it? Going back to something I talked to at the beginning, and I don't want to talk about it at all, because just there's too much going on. But with regard to the idea of filing for advanced parole, when you have an adjustment of status case pending every time, is because it's something that you could submit, and you don't have to use it, but it's better to have it. That's a basic argument, but there's different layers to it. But a lot of people, several people who had a problem with it, say, it costs a lot of money, it's a lot of work, we got to charge the clients. And I think there's a mistake going on, and that people think that when you submit, now this is a legal disclaimer, every time it's different. I don't know your particular case, and everything going to be said, has been said, and will be said forever and eternity in public about the law of particulars podcast, is that it could be different in your case. But you don't need to submit anything with the affidavit support application form I-131. You fill out the name, the address, what is it, type of admission, social security number, alien number. There might be a gender, sex, whatever you call it nowadays. Then you go move on to like the second page, just mark like the third box or fourth box on the left, and then you move forward. And there's a part where it asks what countries you're visiting and what the reasons are. You do not have to do that. You skip that. And it's specifically listed. So if you go, I think I've done this a gazillion times, this form. So I'm going in my head, but it could be different. And the USCIS said they're going to be updating for my I-131, so it's going to change. But at the bottom, on page 3, which is the advanced parole part, where you kind of mark, I've never they ask if you've been to court or if you've been outside for too long or something like that. It's the questions. Underneath it says if you're doing advanced non-DACA based advanced parole, skip to like page 4 in the middle or something like that. So you skip over all that part, including on page 3 on the top or page 4 on the top. It asks what your address is, and sometimes clients get peeved that I don't mark the address where you want the document to be sent to is the first box, but the form specifically says to skip that part. So I've always skipped it. 98% of my cases I've skipped it, and 2% of the time clients come back and say, "Why don't you fill this out?" And I explain to them right above it. It says to skip this part, but it doesn't matter. It's going to come. It's probably going to come where the EAD comes anyways. This is how the standard process worked for 10 years. And hopefully in the future, just smoother and less time consuming to do on the government side. But filling out that form along with the last page, which has a name and phone number and your address, which you should have fill up automatic to reuse or something like that, that shouldn't take really more than like 1 or 2 minutes. It's that simple. And if you use a form program like DocuWise, you just click print and it's in there. There's like not much that needs to be done. So to say, if a client wants to pay for it, and it's this is why I don't want to get into this conversation. It's because I don't want to call out too many people, but it's the people's lives get hurt because you don't want to do something that's not a big deal, and you don't potentially want to hear a hassle about it or something like that. It's a big what is that word to use? Not disrespect. It's a there's some diss in there. They're dissing them. They're dissing the people. So yeah, I know what's better for you. So it's not right. People miss out on great opportunities in life because our fear for something. Some lawyers are way too paranoid in parts where they shouldn't be. That's exactly why I don't want to talk about this topic because I'm going to run wild and it's just not worth aggravation right now. So let's talk about. I didn't even talk about the beginning what this episode is going to be about. This is one of those where I just talk about all the different rules I've read or came up with, or I think you should know all this kind of stuff. I did episode 200, and which is essentially the 6th anniversary of the show, or 7th or 6th, I can't remember. But I thought I was going to sit today and talk about what I've learned, all that kind of stuff. But right now, I don't feel like talking about that either. So hopefully, episode 300, we'll talk about it, or maybe the 10th year anniversary or something. But overall, it's just so many opportunities when you do different things. Who would have thought I would do the magazine? The magazine was such a wild success with the amount of readers and sponsors and all that kind of stuff. And it just changed the way I'm going, the amount of people I've been to connect. I've probably talked to over between 1,000 to 2,000 immigration lawyers. So it's an amazing field. I've talked to so many people, and the relationships go pretty deep, even when you only talk a few times. It's really relating to people and knowing what you're going through together really connects you. So it's really an opportunity that came, and financial stuff comes with it too. And you got to rise to certain challenges at certain times. But I really tell you, if you're stuck in a rut doing the same thing, even if you're making money in your firm, and it's just not interesting, or maybe you're not getting clients, you want something new, do it. Just do what you feel is right. Don't try to copy people. Just do something. Copying is actually good. You should copy people, but find that is copying something that's you. I have no problem with people going on TikTok and dancing, and certain clientele like that. Whatever, let them do what they want to do. It's not me. No one's going to want to see me dancing. I've really gotten too old for that. I try to go dancing nowadays, and I'm stiff as a tree. But I used to get down, and who knows if I was 25 and I had TikTok and I was an immigration lawyer, maybe I'd be dancing. I don't know. But for me, I feel like I've gotten too old. Not to put them down like they're immature or something like that. I just feel like an old man at this point because running around 2 kids all day gets you really exhausted. I think I need to get 2 nannies. I need to make more money, everybody. I need 2 nannies to deal with these kids that are running around all day. So it's just a personal feeling more than anything. I'm sure people that are older and can do a good job dancing or whatever connect. But I found the way I like to do it, and it is what it is. Not everyone likes it. Constantly people tell me I talk too fast and they can't understand me. And I've tried to slow that part down, but it's me. And honestly, I like talking fast. I don't feel like slowing it down. So it is what it is. I'm making money the way it is. So I think you got to just make it the way you want to do it, with respect for people and at the same time doing a good job. But that's just goes without saying. So how did I go on this tangent? This is the anniversary. What I learned is just keep pushing that aspect and think it through. And you can do different things and succeed. This technology we have is mind blowing. I keep playing around with all the tech that pops up. And this is one of the reasons I really recommend watching TikTok. You got to watch an hour of nonsense on it, pretty much. And it seems like a waste. But if you get certain TikToks that have business advice, marketing advice, new technology advice, I just picked that up, man. It makes a big difference. And it's almost like, TikTok is like going to school where, most of what you learn has no use. Or maybe going to CLE where you know all the stuff. There's about a minute's worth of, or maybe 30 seconds worth of information that's worthwhile to you. But that 30 seconds, it'll be a game changer. So I definitely recommend be careful. I mean, social media is designed to suck you in, but TikTok, I think it's is going to dominate. It's a different thing than having a Facebook account, which has its own purposes, or Instagram, which has more. If you're trying to get clients, Instagram still is better. I think paying quality clients, it's gotten harder, but I think it's better. But TikTok, I learned from it. I don't post much anymore because I don't feel like having a phone and grabbing a phone and posting like every day, which is what you're supposed to do. But who knows, if my new associate and person I'm working with frees up that much time, maybe I'll jump on the phone and dance and do everything. I'll get some sleep finally, and I'll be limber enough to do a cha-cha or some sort of dance and just feel like I'm young again. But enough about that. So let's talk about stuff we've learned. All right, so I wanted to give an update. Right now it's August 20th, 2021. I'm starting to get EADs on cases, not point-based cases primarily, but EADs on cases filed in like late October, November. This is when the visa bulletin for like India and China jumped forward, and all of a sudden it's mad dash to file. Those EADs for me are coming in right now. I still have some that haven't, but like majority or 75% have come through, like are coming right this week or something. I got all these notices. At the same time, I got all these notices to send biometrics. So they're trying to make moves in USCIS to get things done before the employment-based visa numbers disappear at the end of the fiscal year in late September, end of September. So that's good. And it looks like, I have no basis saying this, but I'm probably guessing this October, November is going to be another opening for filing adjustment of status cases. So really get on that. I think last October was the best month I've ever had, when all of a sudden I got all these employment-based cases and the whole families, and I was like, "Oh, this is great." So, and I think at the time we had to do that darn I-944, so that created even more income for the firm. Which I'm so happy at income that I'm not getting anymore, because I hated filing I-944. Public charge, blah, 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 the way they designed it. Now, there was a notice today from USCIS, but it said they're going to do something. I didn't fully read it or understand it, but it's something that's like to update people that the rule changed back so they know, but they're going to be like having discussions about it. So we'll see what happens. But I'm glad not to get that business. That's stupid form. But, that's going to happen again. So prep yourselves. If you're doing, if you're getting involved in social media marketing, just do ads, not ads, you can do ads on that too, but just do videos talking about October, maybe a time. If you're Indian, if you're Chinese, get ready. And so they'll come and talk with you first, have a consultation sooner, so you don't just pounce on it. I was talking with a colleague who does large volumes of employment-based cases, and she said, this year we're not going to get caught off guard, because it was mad hell for those who do volume and employment-based. They said that this year we're already contacting employees who potentially may have a priority date coming up, and they said, let's just start the stuff now. And so they're collecting all of it. Now, one problem is they updated form for I-485, and this is supposed to be a good thing because they're adding a section for getting a social security card, social security number when you're adjusting status, and it's rearranged the whole form. So if you do complete an I-485 in print form, or at least a finalized state form, that's probably not going to be valid. I think this current version, the before the new one, I think, and you got to check me on this, but I think they said in October is when the new one becomes a new one. So, you got to be mindful of this stuff and keep an eye out on it. If you use software, for example, DocuWise, you just save it and then, input whatever, put it into the documents. They already have the new format of the forms. Just do the new one if you've already started. So I guess that's not a big deal. Just start right now. But, they said they extended the I-693 medicals for 4 years. It's I already talked about their texting people and requesting people. It's in my notes that things I have to go through, but they might extend it 4 years. They have extended it 4 years if you properly have the doctor sign it within a certain period of filing. And this is one issue. I've had more and more clients call me and say that the nurse at the doctor's office or the billing person, whoever picked up the phone, is saying that they won't, if the medical is done now, it's not going to be valid or something like that, because you have to file it within the first 6 days before filing the case. You have to file a medical. All this incorrect information. It's been like freaking out my clients. But the rule is nowadays, after they changed it last time, is that You either do the medical and submit it. It's valid to submit it after filing, but if you submit it with the application, the medical, the doctor's signature has to have been done within 60 days before the date of filing. And normally that's fine, but sometimes you have cases that are rejected. And I had one like this where the person's credit card was rejected. And that's the last time I accepted one, client funds, and secondly, credit cards for filing fees when given to USCIS. That case came back, and at that point, 60 days had gone before we refiled, and all of a sudden they have to pay for new medical. So you want to avoid these things for clients that don't have to pay them. It's part of my job is to make sure people don't waste their money too. It's not I'm an advocate. I care about the clients. I don't want to seem like, oh, go do another medical, even if it's. And these things, some doctors charge like $1,200, a ridiculous ripoff. So just be mindful of that. It's 4 years now. It's good, but at the same time, why they want to get 4 years? What's going on here? Is it that bad, the situation that's going to be happening, that they're planning out 4 years ahead of time? Why can't they just approve the EAD and AP automatically with the filing and just give a receipt? So I don't know what's going on. And if there's issues, they could always take it back later or something like that. So it gets worked out about all this. So, okay, Fulbright waivers. The traditional thing you see in here on the internet and by most attorneys, including myself historically, is that if you have a J-1 subject to the 2-year requirement, and the reason you're subject to a 2-year requirement is because you're a Fulbright scholar, it is almost impossible to get rid of that 2-year waiver, a 2-year home residency requirement, without going back to your home country for 2 years and coming back. There's no real waiver of it. And, over time, I just seen that's not the truth. It's really hard apparently, but it's doable. There's a lawyer, and I talked with him. I was trying to get on the show to CLE, but the guy's so busy, just his whole practice, and I can't remember his name. I've talked to him in like 6-7 months, but his whole practice is just doing J-1 waivers, particularly focused on Fulbright, because he himself got rid of his Fulbright. And I was at a birthday party, and I was talking to a gentleman that was from Europe. If I talk with someone who has an accent, immediately, we're immigration, we're going to be asking what kind of visa and all that kind of stuff. And he said, yeah, I had a J-1 Fulbright. I'm like, what'd you do? He's like, I don't know, like the program I was on helped me. They just contacted me, they worked it out, and we got rid of it, and it was a marriage adjustment case. I was like, oh, that was pretty easy. Yeah, they really wanted me to come and stuff, so everyone just threw it in and helped me out. So I was like, wow. It is you got to tell the clients that you don't know what's going on, because the reality is it probably has a high denial rate, but it's not impossible. So, if someone really, they found the love of their life and want to live together in the U.S. on just status, it's worth filing that case and doing it. Now, people got to pay for it and all that kind of stuff. It might be a lot of work, but it's not impossible. And so keep that in consideration when it comes to these Fulbright cases. Just let the client know, it's not likely that's high, but it's possible. Avoid you having to rearrange your life and postpone your life for 2 years. So be very careful. Just know that. Don't be careful. Just know that. Now, one follow-up with that is another question that comes up with people that are subject to the J-1 2-year home residency requirement is, let's say they get the waiver. When do they file it? Because when you do what is the waiver form? What is the process for that? Well, first you have to, all the waivers I do are the ones where the home country paid for education or something like that. So you have to contact the embassy. Oh, I guess that's the process. So you contact the embassy. It depends on what kind of waiver you have, but I think most people probably do this version. So I'll just use this example. When someone's subject to your 2-year requirement and you can waive it initially by getting permission for your home country, you usually contact the U.S. embassy. I'm sorry, the home embassy of that country, depending on which country it is or whatever system they have. They give approval to waive it, or sometimes they'll have clients have to pay back the money that the government gave them when they originally, started their program for school and stuff like that. But once they give that, they approve it, but you still can't file the I-485 technically, because if you look in the adjustment of status I-485 instructions, it specifies when you can file it, and it's either when you have the full waiver, or at least DOS has waived it. So there, the foreign embassy approves it, sends the case to Department of State. Department of State then approves it, and that's the time I believe, and I have, and the regulations according to the form instructions for 485 say that is the time when you can begin scheduling something to waiver. Now, maybe you do it sooner when the embassy approves it, or you just start the process along with I-485. You get the waiver and you bring it to the interview, and the officer says it's okay. If you want to play with fire, or the client just has no time, for example, their whatever H-1B is ending and they need to file the adjustment case and get on that status. Yeah, if you got to do it, you got to do it. But that's not if they deny it, it's not surprising because that's what essentially the regulations based on the instructions say, which is at least till DOS approval for doing that kind of case. So, I get one of these once a year, but when I do them, I always just do it that way. So I thought I'd share that information for people who aren't familiar. Okay, do I want to get into this? I don't. It's going to be a long conversation. Okay, sorry, everybody. It was about the idea that if you have an asylum case pending and you enter on tourist visa, you have an asylum case within filing the 6 months, is the delay that the government gives okay delay for filing adjustment of status or not? But that's the whole thing that's going to get me worked up too, so I don't want to talk about that right now. So what is left? There's a lot actually. If this goes, because this is 2 or 3 episodes worth that were piled up, so it's already 25 minutes, and we'll see how long. It's 45 minutes an hour. It's getting late here. Probably another 15 minutes. And I'll do a second episode. So I once had a case, and this was a case where we had initially thought the person was going to go and do consular processing. So on the I-130 form, we marked that they're going to do consular processing, but it turned out the person ended up in the United States, and we were able to file for adjustment of status. And so I filed that, and then the case took a while. Eventually, once the interview, and the officer said, well, the case is still with DOS. They still haven't sent back the file for the National Visa Center, and we have to wait. And so I went and contacted the NBC. This is back when I emailed them, and then within pretty short a week or two, it was fixed, and they were approved. And I think, time is getting off on me, but I think this was like 3-4 years ago. It wasn't too long ago. So after that, every time there was a switch of a case, and this happens probably like once or twice a year for me, where we thought it was consular processing, but ended up being adjustment of status, I contacted the National Visa Center, and I said, hey, we're doing consular, we're doing adjustment of status. Please send the file back. But also, when the NBC thinks that their case is still processing, they send you those notices that we're going to deny or avoid the case because there's no contact with us within the last year and that kind of stuff. And if you have an adjustment of status case that's going to take more than a year, also the NBC might cancel the case and there might be some sort of crazy confusion. So I notify them, hey, we're adjusting status. Please don't do that. Just send the file back and just leave it alone. And they would come back, and I learned now what I'm supposed to give, but I intentionally want to give the specific example. And they're like, no, you have to have a letter from the applicant signed that says they want to bring it back. And I would just submit a G-28 with it or something like that. I can't remember. But nonetheless, that aspect that the applicant has to sign the explanation, bring it back is good. So that's what I've just been doing as standard practice. And someone had posted about this issue, and I said, do this. And someone else posted, no, you're in a weird tone, at least when you read it, but said that, no, you got to call NBC and let us explain this to you. Okay, I'm like, okay. And they said that everything's digital, so there's no sending the case back or something like that. What I was saying was nonsense. So it may be nonsense. When I was 3-4 years ago, I think that I had to deal with this. I've just been doing it automatically. The NBC responds, says, thank you for letting us know. But who knows? Am I right? Are they right? When I call the NBC now, they just says we can't answer the phone. We're too busy. Emailed us, and so I don't really want to have this discussion with them by email. Maybe I should. Maybe FOIA something. I don't know. I'm not going to bother any of that. But I just want to get heads up that there's that difference of opinion. I had an NBC case in Ciudad, Juarez. Speaking of NBC issues, so we filed this case. It was documentarily qualified in March 2020, Ciudad Juarez case. And, that's right when coronavirus hit and the delays in CDJ got even worse. And, about a year and a half in or something, let's say it was like 2 months ago essentially 2 months ago, I contacted the embassy directly. I said, let's do an expedite. This person has U.S. kids, they go to school. And I just want to give it a shot, throw a Hail Mary pass. And the embassy responded saying, we don't have your file. I'm like, what the hell? What do you mean you don't have my file? They're supposed to have sent to you. I mean, your file doesn't exist or something like that. It's not. So I contacted the NBC, and they're like, well, you're not documentarily qualified. I'm like, what in the world are you saying? So I found the old email they sent where it said it's documentarily qualified. I sent it to them. And I also sent it to the embassy saying, what the hell is going on? Don't move us to the back of the line because the NBC told me you're documentarily qualified and then forgot about it or something like that. That's not fair. So within a week of sending that, we got an appointment notice to come in 2 weeks. Now I thought, wow, maybe that scared them into it. I don't know. They got affected by it. I don't know. But then I started talking about the people that were taking CDJ cases too, and they're saying, yeah, my February, March cases, we're getting their interview scheduled. Let's say so When I was August, 8 month, 5 month, May. So essentially a year and like 2 or 3 months it was taking for a basic CDJ case. So this is marriage adjustment cases. So it was going to happen anyways. So I don't know. Is that automatic answer that the embassy gives correct? I mean, incorrect, or just not proper explanation and I freaked out or something? I don't know. But it worked out. I want to give you, this is just the unknowns of the immigration process. I want to let you know. But also CDJ, when they're scheduling these interviews, they're giving like 2 weeks. So that's kind of annoying because people have to rush and figure it out. And especially because in CDJ, they bifurcated the fingerprinting process separate from the interview. So you do the fingerprints first and a separate, you come to that city, Ciudad, Juarez, and do fingerprints, or you go to, you can choose where it is. I think that they went to Tijuana or something like that. But it's, there's a step process. Then you got to go to the doctor too. There's all this stuff you have to do really quick, and you can't lose that opportunity. So I'll give you a heads up. If you do have a Mexico case, have the clients really ready to jump on it. They shouldn't be traveling and really shouldn't have any plans if you're hitting the 14, 15 month mark, where there's a potential where your DQ, documentary qualified case is coming up. Be prepared for this. And so they went, and it worked out pretty quick, and everything was smooth. So that part was good. But be careful. That these are the things we deal with. Now, there's another thing I want to talk about, which is based on a document, so I'll press that for just a short course. But there's a memo in one of our colleagues that posted on it. It's about the B2 tourist visa, or essentially B1, B2, and what kind of work is possible. It's called the Williams memo, and there's an AILA doc number for it. It's also, if you're writing down, write it down or type it down. It's a good thing to read because clients always ask you, what is employment? What can I do? What can't I do? This memo, at least, is a statement from the agency in some fashion we use. The AILA document number is 03040190. I'll say it again, 03040190. The Williams memo on B2, B1, B2 tours. I gotta say, stop saying tours, but visas and ability to work. Now, well, we'll discuss that later. Okay, story of file number, we see send file back. Already talked about that. Okay, wow, the whole explanation of what I just talked about, the CJ thing. But 3-4 months ago, adjustment case, no file sent with the bus. Okay. Now, one thing that popped up, I got a call from a person, or they emailed me saying this case issue they had, and I was really surprised. I'd never done a Palestinian case before, but for Palestinian cases, apparently the U.S. does not recognize Palestine as a country, so they don't accept their passport. So this person, in whatever kind of case that they were doing, they needed their passport, and they sent that, and they got like an RFE or something like that for it. And it said, we don't accept the Palestinian passport. I'm not sure what they use at how to do those cases, but I just want to give a heads up that if you had a Palestinian person come and do a case and they pull out their passport, or they're overseas under constant processing, they're not going to accept that. So see what's going on to avoid that. Now, another messed up thing about CDJ that someone posted, it's just incredible things you see in here in this practice. But apparently someone had gone to an immigrant visa interview. They had, I think, gotten a waiver for EWI overstay. And when they had entered the United States, when they're, crossing EWI, they're pregnant 3 or 4 months. And they had their kid in the United States a couple months later and became a U.S. citizen. At the immigrant visa interview, they were denied for alien smuggling, saying you smuggled a fetus into the United States, so you are alien smuggling, case denied. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. I don't know what to say. This poor person, this kid in the United States, will do that. But these are the things we find, and this is why you can't give guarantees in any case. And bring up that advanced parole discussion I had earlier. Yeah, you can't guarantee something. You want to give people the options. But when they accuse you of alien smuggling because you're pregnant, that just takes it to a new level. Now, I do have a lot of people contacting me asking about learning stuff and where resources I can use, all this kind of stuff. One of the best places for finding how the law works and describing it is the CRS files, Congressional Research Service. I'm kind of making it up, but I think that's what it is. And these people have to continuously give updates in the law to Congress so they can use it as a thing to read. And it really breaks down how to do immigration law. I mean, it really is well done, well thought out. So if you're, trying to learn the area, think about it. Like, I don't do removal and I don't do immigration stuff or asylum. I'll read these to get kind of caught up in some changes that are happening in the laws. It's a really good resource, almost like a semi-curse ban. But I just want to recommend that for those who are still learning or who you know stuff, just keep up on everything. The CRS is a great way to learn, and they just pop up. Where do I think they're probably on AILA. They have this AILA 8 or AILA. I don't use the AILA 8. I don't look at that. They have one where they break down every day, like everything that happened. And when those CRS ones come up, I always save them and do them. So I have one here on immigration consequences of criminal activity, May 28, 2001. CRS is the Congressional Research Service. There's another one I saved, non-immigrant and visa categories data brief. So it talks about data and stuff that informing Congress of these categories. And I'm going to definitely make charts of these and share on the toolbox. There's one on U.S. naturalization policy. So what's happening, trends, and all this kind of stuff. So it's not just the law; it's just all aspects of it. It's a really good resource, CRS. So definitely check that out. Next, VisaWhen.com. Why did I want to talk about that? What was that website? So I just made a note that says VisaWhen.com, and I'm going to the website right now and see what it is. Oh, okay. So I have a case that's stuck, as we all do with consular processing. And one of my clients searched online and found a website called VisaWhen.com. Visa, the word Visa, and when, that's in what time or something. And what they do here is they in some way aggregate the Department of State data with regards to immigrant visa and visa filing based on the post and based on the country and the country national, all that kind of stuff. And you put it in there and it gives estimates of like how things are going. So for example, at the consulate step, let's say you do have a Ciudad Juarez case. Let's see Juarez. So you punch it in, I want Ciudad Juarez. And then so I'm thinking about an IR1, which is the typical case. They'll come up, see CR1, IR1. And so normally it says they have the stats in it. I don't know how correct it is, but it says normally there's 2,000 a month of these. And so in July 2018, for example, there are 2,200 visas issued at Ciudad Juarez. Actually, let me read this intro. It says, before March 2020, so as for COVID, Ciudad Juarez issued 2,485 visas per month on average. These are CR1, IR1 visas, so marriage cases. If we naively assume that the number of visa applications didn't change during COVID, they are now 11 and a half months behind expectations. So, you know, I told about a case called months ago I did. I think they've gone better because there's a chart here. I'm sorry if you're watching this visually. I'm not going to share my screen because I have too much stuff going on my screen. But so what happened is COVID hit March 2020. Everything was average. They're doing that. I mean, they already backed up. People don't see how it's already backed up a year even before COVID. So, but right when COVID happened, they went to April 2020, 57 visas, 82, 95. So they jumped from like 2,000-ish or 2,500 to literally under 100 every month, and that goes on for a year. So from April 2020 to actually not a year, but up until April to August. And then it went from 100 to 200, 300, 400. It's still below 500. And it wasn't until February 2021, March 2021, that they started going to 1,500 and stuff like that. And even now, they're still under 2,000. But you can see they're starting to catch up. So, yeah, you can still expect that year delay. But it was an interesting website. Again, I have no way to check the algorithm if they're doing stuff properly. But that's something, an extra tool in your toolbox to think about. And to review when it comes to these kind of things. All right, so they updated OPT. Oh no, I haven't updated OPT. They probably have updated OPT. I think you can get it online now. There's the I-765's online filing. I bet you there's gonna be a ton of mistakes on that. But what I want to talk about here is I had a client call, and not clients, they're consults and stuff. And this person had finished their school. I think they were a PhD candidate, but they still hadn't completed their thesis, and they started OPT. And then they got worried and they said, well, I never finished my thesis. Was this OPT appropriate? And my initial reaction was, yeah, probably. But then I went and just read the OPT the regulations for F1. And so under 8 CFR 214.2 F10, I think 2 Roman numeral I's, I scribbled there. I can't read it. But essentially it said for OPT in these kind of cases, you need graduation. Where schools will graduate you, you don't have to have finished your thesis. So that was an interesting thing. I caught reading the regulation. In your spare time, read the F1 regulation. There's a lot going on there. F1, when you really get into it, it's a very complex visa. And what makes it even worse is it's so complex, and we give it to people in these schools who many times have a million other things to do and expect them to keep up on it. what are they called? Designated school officials, DSO. So it is what it is. I'm not bashing them. It's so hard because I read it all the time. It's very confusing. And it's my job to know it. You are doing your job as a DSO. You got a million things in your head. So it's just so badly designed. And add to that, it was in the last ombudsman's memo that they issued last year, and I already did an issue on that. I have a full breakdown of the new memo. It's just a must read. I just haven't had time to do the podcast on it. But you see, like, there's just not enough officers in ICE to even police this program. So and the whole program it has grown so tremendously. The F1 program, the student program, I mean, it's been dropped recently, but the bureaucratic backside of it hasn't. So there's just so many errors, so much confusion that comes. It's a very complex category. You should just read it. Just start from the beginning. Read a little bit, stop reading, just have it on a rotation. And so you're really familiar with 8 CFR 214.2F for student visas. And if you want to look L's, the L 214.2L is really good. That's what it was. So I've read that probably a bazillion times. And every time I start a case, I read that because it's so important. But I stopped doing else. Okay, so another cool thing, hat tip to one of our listeners, Lawrence Wolfers sent this. There was a client who flew to the United States on private jet with their ESTA, and in the airport, the CP didn't allow him in. And Lawrence somehow knows this. I guess he has a lot of rich clients that have private jets. But apparently, if you want to use the visa waiver program, ESTA, electronic signature, blah, 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 TA. I try to remember this because I do like marketing material on it. And I remember to say the whole thing, but then I forget 5 minutes later. But under ESTA, you can only travel with the waiver on what's called signatory carriers. These are like the big airlines, essentially, some small ones, I guess, who sign up for it to participate. And guessing what happens is their computer systems work and are connected with CBP so they can track who's on and off, and that's part of what it is. But ESTA, you can't just find private jet like that. It has to be signatory and carry. Okay, how much time do I want to get into this? I'll go to one more thing. Let's see what random one I want to choose because I don't want to go to a huge rant right now. Okay, I've talked about this before. It's pretty simple, but when people come here on K-1 visas, fiance visas, it's a nightmare, and I try not to do them for this. Probably the main reason is because you're not going to get an EAD as the I-485 applicant until a while. So all of a sudden, you come to the United States, and you're stuck and not doing anything. It's really obnoxious, and I have clients all the time get into fights because they're at home watching TV all day, and at least like issues. So I don't like doing that. But people have to do it anyway. Sometimes it is what it is. And so what I want to share is I've had a lot of people think, well, you need your EAD to get your social security number. One thing that's important to know is the way the Social Security Office views who gets a social security number is different than the way the agencies, DHS, sees it. So you'll have situations, for example, where you could be an E2 or an L2, dependent of an E2 or an L1, and still go to the Social Security Office with that, and they will issue you a Social Security number, despite the fact that all you have is a visa, but not an EAD, because the way the Social Security Office has written it, that's the way they've written it. And so one other aspect of it that pops up, and I didn't find this part in the writings, that I didn't read that deeply into the Social Security Office for that factor, but I've had clients on their own just show up at this Social Security Office and say, I'm a K-1, give me a Social Security number, and they gave it to them. And so there was a post about this, and a few lawyers said, "Oh, you can't do that." And I was like, "Yeah, I didn't know you could do it either. I'm on the same page as you, and I'm being aware of this." But my clients just on their own when it did, and they got their Social Security number. So that's probably something to recommend for that higher level of service and attention to your clients to go and get it, because it's going to help. Some insurance companies for health insurance won't give the spouse or won't add them to the family insurance plan if they don't have a Social Security number. So how much more beneficial and helpful both is it for the life of the applicant? But also, it's more bona fides if you're doing a marriage case. So, I mean, why not? You join them to health insurance. It helps out. Some banks won't open an account if you don't have a Social Security number. It's just so many different parts of life becomes easier with this mark of the beast that we have, that you might as well just tell the client on a K-1 to do it if you are doing K-1. Well, thank you, Liz, for listening to my commentary. I'm exhausted, so I'm a little more delirious and more animated in everything I'm saying. but I really want to get this out. I have these are notes I've taken over 2 or 3 months ago, and I really want to get the ombudsman's out. And there's just so much content I want to give out, and so just listen, please. See that, check out the magazine. I know no immigration attorney or paralegal or assistant for an immigration attorney, anybody, law student, is going to open up any issue of the immigration toolbox without being blown away with the content. And it's really thanks to the great, colleagues we have that are taking their time to submit these, and it's only going to get better. So please open it up. It's an online magazine. There's analytics. When immigration lawyers open to read this, I know how much time. They don't say who it is, but they say somebody open to read it. It helps out to get support and sponsorship for the program, so I can just do more stuff to help you out. I'm bringing practice in doing this. There's a lot of cost to it, but I really want to make this something that really changes the game for immigration lawyers, and that has an effect on society where we can really talk about these issues that have been secretly or sideways talking about, like the advanced parole issue. Why do we have advanced parole for adjustment cases? Why not just get the AD and the AP? People shouldn't leave with it, but it shouldn't be needed somehow. There may be some policy rationale behind it, but there's got to be a better way. Waiting 10 months to get advanced parole it just doesn't make any sense. And I think everyone should apply for it anyways. They'd be careful not to travel if they have issues, but it just got to be a solution because this is not working out and we got to do our things. Why are I-751s taking so long? And that's the next cross I'm going to bear when I read the ombudsman's report. And it would the teaser wild accusations that created the need for the I-751, which has been disastrous. I have so many people calling me in abusive relationships, being afraid to file a waiver-based I-751 because they're afraid of it. And going back to the history of why this form was created, why this process created, it's dubious whether it's needed. I'm going to get the stats that USCIS admitted to the ombudsman's office. This is like a front page, like this should be in the news, how ridiculous it is. One of those, investigative reports. So I really want to talk with y'all about that and really get something going because it's just so much. I have a low tolerance for this kind of stuff. So if I did asylum claims or file cases, I would probably jump out of building because I can't handle it at all. Just having 5 phone calls of abused spouses in a month is enough for me to get up and say, hey, I can't handle this kind of stuff. We got to do something about it. So Toolbox and my nonprofit, the Migration Foundation, which is coming soon. You'll hear about that. Really want to get active in this. So I really implore you to check the magazine out, reach out to the sponsor, be interested, talk with them, let them know that it was the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox. We got it. And we're going to funnel that sponsor money and tell them, hey, if you want to sponsor us, you got to donate to this and use that for a proper mission to help immigrants who are going through stuff through the nonprofit. Hopefully what I said is corporate-wise appropriate or not, I don't know. But I was kidding. But people do want to make donations to Migration Foundation. Once I set up whatever IRS stuff I have to do for that, I'll do it. You can check out the foundation, migrationfoundation.org. You're all going to be affected by one way or another. I get a glimpse of the website, what's going to be affecting your lives as practitioners. But it's just it's a basic website. It's too big. That's just a homepage. But we're going to make some big changes. We got it. Life's boring without making changes that are fun. So I implore you, don't just take your practice as something you go and make money and come back. I have run into immigration attorneys that burned out. You got to do this kind of fun stuff. So do something different, make a nonprofit, work with nonprofit or something, and not just the typical ones, all of them, to do something different and really, think that one day your great grandchildren will be like, well, that was my great grandfather, great grandmother who did that. That was that person. And I think that's a pretty fun way to live. We make enough money, or 6-figure salary people are lawyers, so to be able to then, switch it up and use our time and take some sacrifices in the short, maybe medium term in what we're doing, and not making as much money and some things not happening that you want to happen sooner, but really investing in the long term in different kind of things, especially with the agile nature of our society right now, is something I strongly recommend. Who knows what's going to happen with immigration law in regards to both maybe Trump coming back, which I see as completely unbelievable thing that Trump is going to come back, and how devastating that could be potentially. But also just the nature of the world and all the changes that are happening. So you got to kind of diversify yourself and have additional skills, and you're never too young to do that. Whatever age you are, just keep picking up skills, because the reality is most people don't. They learn the skills, and after law school or medical school, they just rest on their laurels. I had one of the people who posted on that post, during immigration lawyers, one of them. I won't throw any more daggers than that. But the reality is you got to keep it fresh, and that's the way to do it. Hopefully you'll be on board with me, help me do that, so I can help you do that. You know, the things that I've had contributors tell me things like, because of the articles to the magazine, the posting and the marketing I do for each article and each lawyer, they reconnected with a friend they hadn't talked to for 20 years. It was like one of those crying kind of things that's so emotional. So it's just groundbreaking what we can do with the technology we have and the community that we have. So please join me. I'm immigration attorney John Kasravi. Talk with you all soon. Bye-bye.